Hi there and welcome back. I'm still working on the stand-up gas scooter. Today I'll be showing you how to replace the fuel lines. It's easier to work on if you have it on a worktop like this. So first of all, you want to remove the fuel lines from the carburetor. These have gotten hard and brittle, so it's good to replace them when they're like that. So start by loosening the gas cap a bit so that if there's any pressure in the tank, the fuel's not going to pour out the fuel lines when you disconnect them. Since I'm replacing the lines, I'm just going to cut them off. Next, you'll need to remove this screw here and the one on this side here. Once the screws are completely removed, just remove the fuel tank and the lines like this. And you may want to remove this spring here that the fuel lines go in. If your fuel's still good in the tank, you can save it in a clean container. Next, I'm going to clean the fuel tank with a bit of fuel that I poured out of the tank. Gas works really good to clean dirt off the stuff. So once you've got the fuel tank off like that, usually the clear line, which is for the primer, will come off. Just like this, there'll be nothing at the end of that one. As you can see, the lines are really hard and it's good that they're being changed. This black line here is the one with the fuel filter at the end of it. Once you've got this in your hands, you can pull the whole grommet out and the black line with the filter is going to come out. Now you want to remove the fuel lines from the grommet. You also want to remove the filter from the end of the black line. You can see the line was bad, it just broke here. This filter here actually comes apart and you can clean it, so you can reuse this. Now the line that I'm using today is Oregon. You can also use Tygon or some black fuel line as well if you want. This one here is 332 inside diameter by 3/16 outside diameter, and I'm going to use this line for both of them. I like a clear line because you can see if the fuel is actually going to the carburetor. So now just measure out your line, and I'm going to leave a couple inches extra. Now I'll measure the black line, and again I'm going to leave a couple inches extra. So with this fuel filter here, I'm going to add a piece of felt from another filter, just so that I have a better filtration system. As you remember in the previous video, there was a bit of dirt inside the carburetor, and I assume that this filter here isn't stopping everything completely. You can buy these little filter felts at mowersforyou.com. They're only like 99 cents or something like that. Then just slide it back on the filter, and that'll be much better. Now you can hook up the fuel line to the fuel filter. Try to get the fuel line at least this far on the connector. It's going to be tight, but work it in there, then your shirt's not going to come off. So we've got this one line set up. Now what you want to do is cut the lines on an angle like this so they go in the grommet easier. Do that to both lines, just on one side. Now you can stick this part of the filter inside the fuel tank. Now what you're going to need to do is insert the fuel line with the filter through the grommet from this side of the grommet here. You can put a bit of liquid wrench in here if you want, where the holes are, so that the line comes out easier. Now you want to pull the fuel line so that you just have enough in there for the filter to go to the bottom. So this is how much fuel line I have on this side of the grommet, and inside the filter area this is what's left. Now you can insert the grommet back in the fuel tank here, just like that, and you can see the filter there at the bottom of the tank. It's got to reach the bottom of the fuel tank at all times. Now insert the other line in the other hole of the grommet, but you only need to insert it approximately 3-4 inches. Now if the grommet here is cracked and brittle, you may have to replace the grommet. I tried searching online just for a grommet, but the only part that comes up is the whole fuel tank with the lines and the grommet. It doesn't appear that you can buy just the grommet. If your grommet's really cracked, it may lose air or fuel out of there, and the pressure in the tank's not going to build up when you go to prime the carburetor. Now at this point you can reinstall the fuel tank on the bike itself. It's going to go right here. And you've got a screw on this side as well. Now you've got to run the fuel lines through that spring. So run them all the way through. Once you've got the lines through the spring, run it toward the carburetor. Now you'll need to retrieve both lines out of the spring. So get them out of the spring like this. Make sure you know which line has the filter on the end, because the one with the filter goes on the lower connector here. This one's the bigger connector of the two. Now I'm going to trim the second line here so that it's not too long, and then connect it over here. Push it in as far as you can. So now you're all done. You've got both lines in the spring. It's nice and protected inside there, as you can see. Now once you've got it fueled up, try the primer to make sure the fuel's coming up to the lines and that everything's working. And I can see the fuel coming up, so I'll give it a start now. Anyways, it runs pretty good now. I did have to readjust the carburetor slightly. It was bogging down a bit, so I turned out this screw here 1/8 of a turn, and now it's pretty responsive. So if your scooter bogs down a lot, just turn out this screw 1/8 of a turn at a time, then try it out, see what happens, or you can jack it up and adjust it accordingly. Now you know how to rebuild the carb, clean it, replace the fuel lines. In a future video I'll be showing you how to replace the tire, because my tire here is pretty shot, the tube's coming out, so that's going to have to be replaced, and I'll show you that later on. If there's anything else you'd like me to show you how to fix on this scooter, just email me and I'll do my best to make a video about it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in my next video. Take care now.